Chiefs have a football game in a week, and you guys are excited about it. So are we. How are they going to get there, and what's going on in training camp? We're going to run down for you the weekend's festivities since we talked last. Welcome to RGR Football. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is Dan Harms from a undisclosed location, we're going to call that. And we are working through your Sunday Night Live. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Like, sub, hit that bell, become part of Rogue Nation, which we call ourselves here on this channel. So welcome. Dan, how's the weekend for you?
It is hot. I am in Texas right now, and it is 110 degrees every day, like just every single day. So it's definitely not what I would love to be doing right now. They're having some issues with the air conditioning in the house too. So I'm kind of sitting in this office, sweating my ass off. And but we're doing good. It's we got a preseason football game coming up next week. We just had the Hall of Fame game. Like I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's here. It's back, right? Like it feels better once you see that first game, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the damn break. And we're all just like, here it is, everybody. It's back.
Makes me feel better. Like it's that time of year. It just so happened that fog has rolled into the mountains here today.
Oh, nice.
It's about 65 and raining. So I don't get that in August very often. So it's not quite 110, but it is what it is. Nice to see you all. Welcome in all you regulars. We appreciate having you. Holly's in here. Terry's back. Nice to see you guys. Kurt, Cole, Brenda. Awesome. We are going to have a fun conversation tonight as it's just that it's that giddiness point where we start to get going. It's going to be less about who's making plays this week and who's learning the game plan. It's not like a full week game plan, but it is like we want to accomplish these goals. And so this week, install changes a little bit. I'm kind of excited to see all the flashes that we've seen in camp. Who makes that pay off by getting ready for this game and actually performing in this game? And top of your list, who's like the number one guy that you're wanting to see this week?
I think it's the top of everyone's list. I want to see Justin Ross go against real competition and real physicality. They're not asked to do a whole lot of that in these training camps. Yes, Andy Reid runs the toughest one, but it's more about conditioning than anything. You're not hitting a lot. You're not really being asked to finish plays. This is about the long drives. Honestly, that's what training camp's about for Andy Reid. It's about getting you in physical condition to be able to go out there for 15, 16 offensive drives, even on the defensive side too, to be able to deal with that. And they do it in the heat, and they do it for a reason, because you never know. When you're even in the cold, you have to be able to breathe. Your lungs have to work right, and it's a good way to get this all done. So Justin Ross going against competition, going against actual corners that are going to be tasked with being physical with him and being essentially man coverage down the field. I want to see if he's actually running the routes that we are expecting him, if they were seeing from him on social media, because there's a big difference between what social media pumps out and everything else that goes on in camp. So we don't really have an actual idea unless you're there watching, and I have not been there watching, but I have it on good authority that there are some issues with Justin Ross's route running. So I want to see that in person myself.
I'm looking forward to him. I'm looking forward to Nick Jones in particular. A lot of the younger guys, obviously, because they're not known quantities at this point. So I'm with you. Let's see who can stand out. Yeah. Shout out to Rogue family. Appreciate you, Patrick. Nice to see you. And everybody, give Daryl a hand, will you? This is a new feature when you show guys that have been people that have been members. Now you get to see how long. 26 months. Daryl, you are the man. There are very few that can even compete with Gooch, who's been here since I debuted memberships, to tell you the truth. But Daryl is right up there, and we appreciate it. That's really cool to see. And if you guys want to become a member, you get the inside stuff, you get the Discord, you get all the little bits and pieces that don't go on the really prearranged shows. And that's really what we're going for. And by the way, before we get started too much tonight, I'm running a poll. I started it last week. I want to know what you guys want. Do you want a live stream on Friday nights or Thursday nights, something game plan-ish rather than our pre-prepared game plan like we've done in the past? Mm-hmm. But I really want to make a more concerted effort than I did last year to give you guys what you want pre-game on an evening when you can actually enjoy it and not like be so crushed into Sunday morning. That was probably a mistake on my part because I get a little excited about actually doing stuff on game day, but that's me. So please leave your comments on not just the live stream, but throw them in the actual comment section underneath the video because we'd like to know it. Now, we're going to talk about our main topics, our peaks of interest. We are going to answer some of your questions tonight. Not necessarily all of them, though, because we are on a time constraint generally. But tomorrow is your Q&A show. So just come back tomorrow, same time. We'll answer all of your questions. And clearly, there's nothing much more making more hype than what Patrick was able to do. I want to show you guys this if you haven't seen it. I don't know who hasn't, but this is just creepy. I got to tell you.
It's absurd.
And I got asked, I did radio this morning out on one of the coasts, and they're like, is this a gimmick? Is this just something to get on ESPN? I'm like, he's on SportsCenter enough. I don't think he needs to do that. But like, this is what changed for me. You tell me what you think, Dad, because I might be nuts. But this isn't 7-on-7s. This isn't a drill. This is in 11s. And that makes me think, holy crap, they might actually do this in a ball game.
At worst, they're showing you this is not, like you said, this is not 7-on-7. This is team drill. This is, they actually might do this. They can do it. Like he can be looking one way and the ball could go the other way. This is not, he's running to his right and then he has to, pump to his goal all the way back. This is, by the way, the ball's over there now. And it's underhand. So you're not going to necessarily see it coming out of his hand the same way. Defenses, if they complete this, I will tell you this right now. If the Chiefs complete this in a game and it goes for like 10 or 15 yards for a screen, whatever it ends up being, defensive game plan will change. It'll be one of the most drastic changes that we've ever seen because you're going to have to trigger on that flare because the ball can get there super quick. And if you don't, guess what? Mahomes is going to flick it behind his back to a wide open receiver, whoever it is. And I love that it was Sky Moore on the other end of this because that's just the next step.
Right? I mean, it's a circus, Rick. It's crazy. And Jeremy, not to be outdone, Jeremy reminded me, by the way, I've been here 6 more months. Cheers to you, Jeremy. We appreciate it. And honestly, both of you guys, I appreciate all your positive comments in here. We've had a lot of trolls lately, and I've had some people that maybe aren't trolls, but like they get a little carried away. I've had to boot some people lately because honestly, I think this should be a community where we can have disagreements and not get all pissed off. So I don't want the Ross lovers to get too frustrated with the people that are like, hey, I want to see more from him before I'm in, that kind of thing. But it's when it gets to the troll state that I just boot people. So if you happen to be one of those, if you happen to be back and I've booted you before, welcome back. Keep it civil, please. And I'd like us all to get along. That's kind of my big takeaway today. But back to the Mahomes thing, like that's just the latest wrinkle. Like it was the pop passes. It was the things like there is a comment in the chat. I think it's Jesus that said it. And that was my immediate thought as well. Like you have to run the screen to its utmost in order to even attempt that behind the back thing. Yeah. Because the play design is what's going to carry contact away and make it so the route can't be jumped. And so you don't lead to an actual kind of interception. The fumble could be, he's pretty accurate with it though. I got to tell you, I've been watching in camp and the highlights. I'm not as worried about an incompletion because he'll be throwing it forward. Mm-hmm. But I am worried about it getting jumped and having that route just turn into a pick six. That's what makes me nervous about it.
I don't think Patrick's throwing that if he sees someone that close to the line of scrimmage. Like he's not going to do that. He's been practicing this for years. We know he's been doing it for years, and now Andy Reid apparently is comfortable enough with him doing it. Yeah, right. Exactly, Ollie. We all have to disagree respectfully. Like that's how this has to work. I've had to learn how to do that myself. Like this is not a thing that just necessarily comes naturally to everybody. So if we can learn to do that, we'll all get along. I'm literally in the house of a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So I mean, we have to do things respectfully.
Yeah, that's a little tight this time, isn't it? Wow.
a little bit. There's a little bit of some resentment on the part of the in-laws. So, but yeah, I think getting back to what Andy Reid, I think that the big takeaway for me is that Andy Reid signs off on everything. He signs off. He lets them have fun. to this point, we haven't really seen them practice it, put it in game plan. It's in game plan now. That he's gotten to the point where he's apparently comfortable with what Patrick Mahomes has gotten to, how comfortable he is doing it, how accurate he is. This is something that I wouldn't be shocked to see very soon on preseason in week one. If they're up by 15, 20 points, watch for it then. Like, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, there are worse things, especially in the preseason. And like, if you're really going to scare everyone, do it in the preseason, because everyone will have it on their film to watch for no matter what. Okay, see, now you guys are just playing the one-up game, and I appreciate that. Cole, appreciate you as always. Cole's been here forever. Steven's been here forever. You guys are awesome. It's incredible to see how faithful you guys are, and I know you have a lot of options here on the platform and elsewhere. Yeah. So thank you. And we know, we as a group, and I don't mean to speak for Cole or Kent and Craig and Maddie, but all of us who have been doing this for a while, we know that you have a lot of options on this platform, and we appreciate you guys supporting all of us, because we all do things a little bit differently, and we all watch each other, because you never know who's going to have something that, hey, maybe I missed that. You know what I mean? So cheers to you guys. You are the best fan base in football, as well as having the best franchise to follow in football. So cheers to you. I'm excited about it. And the other thing that I'm excited, we'll hit this because I want your take, Dan, because I find myself getting a little carried away. It's like, I've had a first or second date, and now I think I might be in love, and I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm treading softly, but I'm pretty pumped about this dude and where he's going. So I want your take, and then we'll break it down, but we'll go back to this other view so we can throw him out here.
Every kid's dream come true. You dream about days like this, and to actually go out with them and actually do it, it's a dream come true. It's very, what's the word? Looking for a good word. It's very breathtaking. Like, being able to step out there on that field and just go out there and compete with my brothers and just show everything I got, because it's not done till it's done. I ain't made the victory yet, so I got to go out there and ball.
That's my thing. The dude's like he's all down to earth. You can tell that he's comfortable in front of a camera and a microphone. That's a big plus. Mm-hmm. But to throw that in at the end, and for those of you who don't recognize him yet, he is a rookie, but that's Wanya Morris, who I think is destined to be the swing tackle on this roster. But that's my key, is he's I haven't made the 53 yet. And as a third-round draft pick, you probably have, but stay hungry and get it done, that's exactly what I want to see out of him.
And that's what you want from everybody. Some things that I've heard out of camp where some players might not be as hungry as they once were as a rookie, starting to unfold, which I'm sure we'll get to. And that's something that you deal with on an every year basis. That's why it's so impressive when you see players like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady did it for 20 plus years, finding that hunger to always want to get better and to put your best foot out there on the field. It's not common. That's why these guys they're different. They are built different. We say that a lot, classify it for a lot of different things, but to be able to go out there and every year, whether it's high school, college, and the NFL, you've been a veteran in the NFL, to go out there and consistently say, I need to get better. I need to find that drive. I need to continue with this push forward mentality. It's great to see a rookie do that. And especially when he knows he's not a starter. He knows that he's probably not going to necessarily be able to win a starting job and can't. That's something that he's going to realize, and I'm assuming he's realized that he's trying to find a way to be reliable, be relied upon. If something happens, boom, I'm there. I'll put my best foot down and get out there and do what I can. So I'm a big fan of seeing that mentality, and that he's just taking it in. It's your first NFL training camp. It's the hardest training camp that any NFL team goes through, and he's just sitting there yeah, this is awesome. That's the kind of stuff that I like to see, and that can bleed into other rookies. That can bleed into the rest of his career too. So hopefully he stays with that mentality and is able to continue that, because he is going to probably be a big part of this offensive line going forward.
Yeah, I'm pretty encouraged by that, and the fact that what I saw in film said that he was a better right tackle than he was a left, and that he did evolve. But to have him go back to left and have them, Andy Heck in particular, prove that, tells me that there's something going on that I haven't seen on film yet, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
So, O-Dog, welcome to the membership. It's nice to have you. We appreciate you. Welcome to Rogue Nation. We are going to get into your questions here. If you guys have a super chat or you want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Or you can grab the gear. If I had the right hat on tonight, it would probably look better. So yeah, you can grab this in the store. You can also get all the Rogue Nation stuff. So grab that if you want to support the channel, and we will get your questions. All the regulars around here, if you happen to be new, check out what they're doing because they put question marks in front of their question. That helps me find them because I'm terrible and my eyes are old. So that's the way that goes. Check that out. And every Super Chat gets an answer tonight, we guarantee it. And that's for tomorrow as well. So Terry Mitchell, welcome back. Nice to see you. And I'm sorry to hear about your cousin. There's a lot of that going around lately. Darius had a scare and he's gotten right. And I'm sorry for everyone, but I hope that you're hanging in and our thoughts are with you, buddy.
Absolutely, Terry.
Tough situation. Steve, how do the assistant coaches improve and learn new techniques each year? My favorite way is they get together in their own little huddles. Everybody's got guys that they've coached with in the past. And so a lot of like the assistant O-line coaches get together with each other in that 6-week time zone that they have where they're not doing something with their teams. But a lot of it, honestly, is a trickle-down effect from the head coach to the coordinators and down and down and down. It is part of the head coach's job to continue to educate your staff. Now, some guys don't do that. You know, Bill Belichick, he basically delegates all of that. Andy Reid's a little bit more hands-on. Matt Nagy is as well. And I think that's a key thing. But I know there are some guys that get together and do film study and stuff too, Dan. What comes to mind for you? How do these assistant coaches get better?
So they go to cool clinics, the coaching clinics. Like you'll have guys like offensive line coaches, offensive coordinators, wide receiver coaches. They run these clinics in the summer throughout the year, and a lot of times it's really just a bunch of coaches coming here to learn something about what this specific coach does. So when I've watched an Andy Heck clinic, like that, when I'm trying to figure out how to get better at evaluating film, how they're teaching one thing or the other. There are lots of different ways. YouTube has been a fantastic model for that. You can Google, this specific coach with their cool clinic, and you can just kind of see how, if they have any stuff on there. It's not always easy to find. You have to do some digging and stuff, but it's a lot of coaches. They all go and they learn about what this specific coach does really well, and it helps them fold it into their own structure. That's the thing. It's not taking it and then running the same thing, because every team has seen that now. It's how you take what they do well and fold it into what you already do. That's why we've seen this West Coast combined with an air raid type offense that Andy Reid runs because of Patrick Mahomes. He's taken college aspects. He's taken a bunch of different tools from different offenses and folded it into his West Coast style offense. And that's one of the beautiful things about football, is that you can do all of this and find ways to put tweaks on this. I'm actually watching the Detroit Lions offensive game plan for a piece I'm doing on NFL 33 for whenever I get to finish writing it. I'm trying to I have all the clips that I want to use on my hard drive, and then I forgot my hard drive, so I'm going to try to write, but download them on my computer from my screen recorder app. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to do that. But what Ben Johnson does, utilizing, like taking from the Kyle Shanahan tree, from the Sean McVay tree, and folding it into what he learned from Dan Campbell, who was with Sean Payton. There are so many different ways that they do this stuff. So that's one of the things that I have learned, is that they all kind of take other coaches' stuff, go to these clinics, they learn, and then they fold it into what they do.
Helps everybody improve at the same time. What's up, Cole? Nice to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing good. It's been a fun summer, huh? Woo, it's picking up speed. Folks, you all know Cole. If you don't, I don't know how you don't, but check out how about that. Chiefs, nice to see you, brother.
Everybody in Chiefs team to follow him.
Right? Hey, absolutely. Nice to see you, pal. We'll get in touch soon. I know I owe you a phone call or something. I've been terrible. Sorry. I'll get caught up, I promise. Because I do have ideas, so we'll get there. Everybody's been asking me lately about collaboration, so we'll figure something out. So, Steve, thank you for your question. I appreciate you. Cody, thank you. A generic training question. Does comparison material actually provide any benefits for athletes or weightlifting? Compression material. Okay. Compression does two things. It allows you to maintain body temperature control without getting that flush. It actually compresses the skin layer and keeps the blood in the muscles a little bit more. There's arguments about whether that's really helpful or not. I think it is honestly a per person basis. I think some people get more benefits out of it than others. But I will also say that when you are lifting, it keeps the muscles warm as well. So there are a lot of situations, back in the day, I know the Rams' old weight room in St. Louis, it literally had a door to the outside in it that they could never get sealed right. So there was always like a cold breeze going through it. I knew guys that worked in that weight room and like they were always cold, and like that has an effect on how you lift and how well your body maintains. And so there are some of those things that I do think come in handy, Cody.
I don't know much about it, but I'm not my area. I just know that you want blood flow, right? If you can do anything to help blood flow, that's what your body needs, especially when you're working out, when you're exercising, when you're running. Blood flow everywhere is important. If you start, like you're talking about with cold breeze, what does cold breeze do with anything? It constricts it. It makes it smaller. It makes it harder for blood flow to get where it needs to go. So I believe that from everything that I've done with working out without or running without, things like that, there are some benefits for sure. We just don't, again, like Ryan said, don't know the extent or the merit of some of those things that have been said.
Yeah, we'll find out. And honestly, like you'll see guys that swear by it. You'll see guys who are like, it is what it is. Lee, based on what you know now, name off the offensive and defensive starters. Why don't you go ahead with the offense and I'll take the defense.
All right. Well, we know, since I was completely wrong about Donovan Smith, he's going to be our left tackle, the Chiefs' left tackle. It's going to be him. Taylor on your bookends. We know the interior with Thuney, Creed, and Trey Smith. Patrick Mahomes, obviously. I'm pretty sure his job's intact. Blaine Gabbert's had a good camp. Not good enough, though. I still think that Pacheco's going to be the starting running back. And then you have Travis Kelsey. And we'll go 3 wide receivers because that's going to be the 11 personnel is what they're going to majority plug. And it's going to be MBS, Scott Moore. And because Kadarius Toney is going to be on my IR substitution, I think Justin Watson is going to be your starting wide receiver.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
That's who's done the most one reps in all the camp. Those 3 receivers have done the most ones.
And honestly, that means something. Unless something changes and you see that, that's what Andy relies on. And it's funny when you hear Andy talk, he'll sometimes get kind of side blasted where he gives up a little more information than he normally would. And when he talks about, hey, we'll go look at their stats from film. Like they run stats and analysis and analytics on every practice as well as every game. And so he's using that. He said that the other day and it caught me by surprise because he was talking about tight end reps, I believe. And that is a giveaway too, that it's not just what the outcomes are, it's how much the guy's in there and working and able to put up positive plays. And it's much different than the way PFF does it, but everybody in the room will grade a plus or a minus. Was that a positive play or a broken play for a particular player? That does help. And see, Holly swears by him too. Helps her immensely when running. That's awesome to hear. And I appreciate that, Holly, because I don't use them myself. I used to use like a compression short, like when I was injured, just to like keep, instead of using those neoprene pads, because like I would sweat enough that it would just slide off. So I needed to give something else to keep it in place. And that ended up helping me. But that's not true for everybody. So appreciate you guys, Mikey and Cole. Good to see you. I just want to highlight those as we were going through. Yeah. Lee, thank you for the question. On defense, I will tell you right now, we're gonna take the guys that aren't here and we're gonna say they're not here. So for me, the starters right now are George Karlaftis, Derek Nottie, Turk Wharton, knock on wood, and Mike Dana on the front, because I think they will go with Dana when Amenu has to be out, hopefully.
Agreed.
And I expect Chris Jones to be back. So, Turk, you're off the hook. You're a rotational player again. Awesome. I really don't think Chris Jones misses a game check. I'll just tell you guys that. I know I've been overly optimistic this whole time, and I said he would get done before camp. I'm still optimistic because this makes no sense to me. There's a gap. You just got to meet in the middle and get the damn thing done so that he can get a year under his belt, because he doesn't want to miss time either. That's game checks. That's money. So I don't see that coming along. But then I do think they'll stay, and I'll go nickel here. So 2 starting linebackers are going to stay, Nick Bolton and Willie Gay for now. Now, I do think in 3rd and long situations, first guy off the bench is going to be Drew Tranquil, but I also like the fact that they might mix in more base. If they do that, it's Leo. And Leo talked the other day about he and Willie cycling through and coming off the edge and that overhang thing that we talked about over the summer. And Dan, you were dead on that. That is the way that I think they can use him the best. So I'm excited about that. And then right now, it feels like to me that unless something drastically changes, it's Snead, and even though he's got some knee inflammation still, I'm assuming he plays game one. It's going to be Snead, McDuffie, and I think Jalen Watson will get that start again because of his past experience. Nick Jones is coming on, and Joshua's had some good play as well. And I think some others are, raising their hand to be seen. But I do think it ends up with Jalen. And then obviously Brian Cook and Justin Reed will be your safeties. I don't think there's any question there. Do you see anything wrong with any of that?
I don't. I'm starting to lean more towards Josh Williams being the starter and not Jalen Watson, based off some things that I've heard out of camp.
Okay. We'll see what happens. I think I'm comfortable with either of them. And honestly, if it does come down to that, it feels like there's not going to be a permanent starter. Like they might flip-flop for the season kind of like they did.
Wouldn't shock me at all. Based off of some things. They've got some second-year corners making some rookie mistakes, and they're not too happy with what's been going on at camp between both of them.
I've heard that as well. Now, I am also hoping that gamers are gamers and that crap will be sorted out.
That's the one thing is like maybe they're treating it like camp because it's camp, and when the game comes, because we saw that last year. I'm starting to teeter on that's just the players that they are. You know what I mean? They were day 3 picks for a reason. Maybe they just kind of are going to be like that, but we'll see. It's year 2. We got lots of time to see.
I'm really intrigued by Nick Jones, though. I want to see. I like his physicality. And I'm looking forward to that. Terry, did you see the Justin Houston signed in Carolina? I did not see that. But honestly, that's wicked smart of Carolina because Brian Burns is nearly elite. Working with Justin Houston will make him elite, in my opinion.
Yep. Fantastic. It's a great signing. It's just one of those things that you have, like looking at the Carolina defense, they have a ton of talent. It's going to be a much improved unit in my opinion, from a chemistry standpoint. They've always had a lot of talent, but it's kind of been disconnected and still bad. So this year, I think they're going to take a step forward with it actually being a connected unit with a team in a division that's bad, vying for somebody to win it, essentially. The Panthers see an opportunity here to go win the division, and they bring in a veteran who had 9.5 sacks last year. I think it's a fantastic signing for them.
Yeah. I don't want to get reminiscent, but they'll get something out of it. Morgan, can't wait till next Sunday. I'll be in NOLA to watch the battle. That's awesome. Good for you. Have some jambalaya for me tonight. That was my pre-stream dinner tonight. If you guys missed my social media.
Nice.
Pretty happy with that. Some homegrown from the garden jalapenos went into that bad boy, and it was kind of nice.
No invite.
No, you went to Jack Stack without me, and I got jealous. So what am I going to do?
Fair. That's fair.
Folks, if you ever want to be in on an RGR staff meeting, you'll find us at Jack Stack most of the time.
Absolutely.
Do you think Kelsey will be a Hall of Famer if he had a different quarterback? Well, it depends by what you mean by different. If it hadn't been for Patrick Mahomes, I would wager that barring any other catastrophic injury, Alex Smith is still your quarterback here. And I would say, yes, he would. That because of that, Kelsey would still be a Hall of Fame tight end. Now, if it wasn't, and Alex didn't do that, maybe you got stuck. Maybe you got stuck with a guy that didn't pan out. If you drafted Malik Willis and his career went in Kansas City the way that it's gone so far, and maybe you did miss on that, maybe that puts a damper on Kels, but I don't think it slows him to the point that he's not considered that. Is he a shoe-in at this point? Maybe not, but he certainly is with Patrick. I think Patrick raising the level is the plus. I don't know that not Patrick would be the minus and Trav wouldn't make it. What do you think?
It's possible he catches less touchdowns. I think he still would have been getting 1,000 yards every year. Maybe it looks a little bit different. Maybe you have to funnel some screens to him a little bit differently. Maybe you have to take some more actual shots downfield. I don't really know, but I do think that because he's so talented and the best route running tight end in NFL history, that's 100% factual. He's he still would be a Hall of Fame tight end, I think, just a little bit differently.
Fair enough. I'm glad we don't have to worry about it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's exactly a good way to put it.
Sam, make me feel better about signing Jones. It's got to happen. He legally cannot play for anyone else but this team.
No.
And he's not Lev Bell dumb. I know he knows Lev Bell, and I know they're pals, but he's not Lev Bell dumb.
No, he can't be. He saw how that worked out for him, and it did not work out very well. So I'm sure we'll find out what's been the holdup here. What exactly? Because I'll be very honest. Unless Chris Jones is asking you $35 million, there's very little being negotiated here in terms of what they need to do. Because he said, I want to be the second highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. He knew he wasn't getting there and down the line. So we have a feeling to this. It's all the room in here, trying to figure out what's going on. Guarantees, structure. Maybe they're trying to structure it like they've done a little bit with Patrick Mahomes, and they're trying to find that maybe something changed in how they wanted to do this, and they're all trying to do this now. A lot of contract stuff takes time, and maybe they're trying to squeeze a ton of contract stuff that they didn't necessarily do earlier in the offseason now. We don't know. We just know that there has been a disconnect from the time that Williams signed his contract to now. So there's something going on. I'm still optimistic. Again, unless we're talking like the second week of preseason and it's still not done and there's no end in sight, that's when I'm going to start to worry.
Agreed. I don't want to get to that point. I don't think it should. I really want to know where this is coming from. Is this Chris and his demands? Is this his agent taking advantage of the fact that Williams came in so low? I don't know yet. Terry, good question. Do you see us trading Clyde for Taylor? I mean, I would love to see it myself. I think it would be fun. But I think you're pretty much guaranteed that it's a 1-year rental. So unless they're willing to only take Clyde Edwards-Helaire and they don't want a draft pick, I can't see it actually happening. Do you see something totally different, Dan?
No, I think that, one, Jonathan Taylor is not being traded unless the Indianapolis Colts get a haul. We're talking probably higher than a second-round draft pick for Taylor because he is one of the best running backs in the NFL, but also he wants to be paid. That's the only reason this even came up. The Chiefs are not going to pay running backs. They will not do it. It's not in their DNA anymore. They have Patrick Mahomes and other defensive players they need to pay, an offensive line they have to pay. One place that they can't afford to is running back, especially because we've seen multiple running backs in the last few years have successful seasons, including Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this offense. So it's not feasible. Whoever has been saying that watch out for the Chiefs to trade for Jonathan Taylor, they're out of their mind. It's not happening.
I personally love to see it. I like the way that he runs.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fantasy, though. Like, we would love to see it. Like, this is fantasy football. Yeah, I'll trade a couple first. No big deal. Making my team perfect. Get that Super Bowl.
Jesus, you have a great question. Is special teams the weak link in this team? And that's a good question. And here's the thing about special teams. You have your core guys, the guys that come back every year, the guys like Mike Burton. Nazi made himself one of those. Those are two guys that are gone from this roster. So you're in search. So I won't say it's necessarily a lot weaker than it was last year, but versus the defense right now, I think it's a toss-up. And every special teams unit comes together here in camp, and that's how they figure it out. They just have a lot more need this year. So if you feel less comfortable with it, I won't argue with it. I'm more concerned about missing two of the starters on the D-line. That's got me a little nervous. But I think they're both kind of down there. But in the end, this is an offensive team. You just gotta not sell the farm in either of those phases of the game. And I think, honestly, if you guys watch the franchise, I thought they did a great job, other than who they chose to put on there in some spots. I thought they did a great job showing the evolution for Sky and that he was bothered by the special teams errors and stuff that he didn't do, but he did bounce back. And so I do think that there's an evolution there in the season. So because they started as the weaker link, maybe doesn't necessarily mean that they stay there. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Do Do you think that they're the weakest?
I don't think so.
No.
I think last year they were bad, objectively bad, one of the worst that we've ever seen under Dave Toub. I think it was just awful all over the place. But at the end of the day, you had the punter who was an all-pro, had an all-pro season. That's also something that's going to have to get figured out contractually going forward. I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Holly, you're going to have to make that happen.
Yeah, can you make some calls? I know that you know him personally. Maybe you can get him to like just take a contract that is not going to be astronomical for a punter. Just make it happen. So the problem with special teams is that they don't necessarily always depend on the players. Things are structurally for like punt returns and for kick returns. Right now, Dave Toub is still saying they're not going to call fair catches on kick returns. You want to know what's going to happen? If that's the problem, if that's the case, they're not going to start on the 25-yard line very much. They're going to start behind that. And that's going to be seen as a negative. That's a mentality thing. So you have some clashing things here, but I think at the end of the day, the defense stopping other offenses without some of their key players is far more of a weak link, in my opinion, as it stands right now, than the special teams are.
Okay. Hey, that's fair. And we won't know until we know, but you are absolutely right about the fair catches. I think a couple weeks of that and starting position being at the 17 or something, that's going to get a looking at. I hate to tell you, because Mike Frazier is not going to be shy about talking to Andy about your starting position is 7 yards deficit right now. You need to fix that. And for those of you who don't know, Mike Frazier is the head of analytics. And particularly, there's a lot of phases of analytics. Like I do all the personnel stuff and the athleticism stuff, right? But there's on field, there's, cost per play, et cetera, et cetera. Mike Frazier is the on field tendencies, play calling strategist guy that helps Andy Reid specifically in the headset at times. Cole, thank you. Do you think Daniel Wise makes the roster? I have him on my mock 53 in place of Amenahue, who I put on the list of suspended players. I think as it stands right now with Chris not signed, yes, I would think that he makes that roster. The fact that they're giving him so many reps at once, and I know they've sprinkled a few other people in there, but they keep coming back to him. Mm-hmm. I think that's the sign right now that it is going to be Turk and Keandre Coburn that back up Noddy and Wise right now if nothing changes. Now, we know about Amenahue, nothing's going to change there. I do think he has a chance to get that appealed and maybe knocked down, but he is going to miss a few games.
Yeah.
And we'll just see what happens with Chris. But yeah, I'm with you, Cole. I think you got that absolutely right. Harry, share the roster chart with the depth chart at each position in the comments or descriptions. Okay, I'm going to have to go make that public. But for those of you who didn't see Locked On Chiefs today, let me share that with you real quick. And I can give you guys an idea because I did something kind of funky today and just shared one of my tools.
There you go.
Add that to the stream. And this is one that I use. This is just super simple. If you want to do X, Y, or Z, just does a calculation for you. You want 9 linemen. Well, now it tells you, hey, you're over. And it's just a way to get a quick balance. And I broke it down, and I always do between corners and safeties, D ends and D tackles. And so, like, say if you decided you had to go light because of the O lineman, you could maybe get by with only 5 DEs. These DEs had to play inside because of the lack of Jones and Amenahue, though. So I don't think that's happening. But yes, I will get this posted into a public sector, and I will share that out for you guys, Harry. So you guys can go play with it. It's kind of fun just to mess around with what the balance has to do because that's what they're doing in the front office right now. There's a whole conference room in St. Joe where Brett Veach and the boys sit around with. Move the board here. There's a board now for the roster, just like there was a board in the draft board, and you do all kinds of mock scenarios that way too. Dan, do you think the Chiefs explore signing a free agent defensive lineman? Not until they sign Chris, because they can't. There's no room. It's I think it's 856 still is their cap space. Let me double check that. If they did, once they get that done, I think they can. Dan, do you think that they pursue another defensive lineman?
I think they have to. I don't know if they've given themselves much of an option with Amenahue's suspension now. They knew it was coming. That's something that was on the doorstep the entire time they signed him to that contract. So not having contingencies in place has been a little confounding, to be honest with you. And then I think that they expected to have this deal done earlier. It's not. So that's a chain reaction kind of thing. They wanted to do some other stuff probably bringing in DeAndre Hopkins and some other things that, they didn't end up being able to do because the contract is the holdup. They don't have enough money to sign anybody. So I think that it's going to happen, and then you're going to see a veteran defensive end brought in rather quickly after it does.
I'm with you. And folks, just to show you again, I was wrong. The cap is currently at 562, so it's about 300K lower than I thought it was. So nothing can happen until Chris gets signed. That's just the way that it goes, and that's probably why he can hold out and push this, because they know that that's true. They can't literally operate until they get this done. It's a tough position to be in, but hey, O-Dog, appreciate you, buddy. You guys are my go-to when it comes to my squad. Keep grinding. Definitely will, and thank you for the support, brother. Appreciate it. Gary, old dog Gary, been around here forever as well. We don't even check. We just know that he's been here since day one. Gary and Dan, is there any second-year players going to replace starters from last year? Well, the main one was going to be Nazi.
Yeah.
It's just a damn shame about him. It makes me frustrated. Do you see anybody else of the second-year guys that didn't start stepping in? Kennard's not going to have a chance. Not with those interior three.
No, I think you might have some. I think we're going to get to see Leo Chanel as a pass rusher this year, which I am excited about. I cannot tell you guys, since the draft, since that, go back and watch my Leo Chanel review where I talk about, look, he can be used as a pass rusher off the edge, and they are going to do it this year. I'm very excited about this. I'm very happy that they have seen what I was talking about and what probably makes the most sense to get the most out of your third-round draft pick from 2 years ago.
Yeah, and in this way, he's still doing something like he used to do in college, which I loved, playing out of a 2-point rather than trying to be like a true defensive end. Like, be a hybrid.
Also, you can use him in place of Nick Bolton when they bring in Drew Tranquill, because what Nick Bolton used to do was mug up at the A-gap. Guess who's really good at that? Leo Chanel. And you don't have to sacrifice your pass coverage on the back end.
Yeah.
I'm getting excited, guys.
It's funny when you take a step back and you just look at these four linebackers, how they fit together in different ways as a puzzle. Like, there's some redundancy, yes, but they all have different aspects that they can cover as well. And so it truly is like 8 different combinations that you can do with it. And I think that's a big plus. I just wanted to throw this up so we didn't lose it, because as we scroll by it, Holly, I'll probably lose it. I'm glad that you've bugged him enough about it so you don't want to jinx it. I heard a rumor he's going to the Eagles. Okay. Emphasis on rumor. Okay. Well, hey, you know what? I put out a rumor this morning, too, that if that were to happen at some point, I'm very comfortable with just having one specialist. I want a combo kicker. I think Harrison can punt. I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Pretty good with that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Rock on. That's 2 of us. Now we just got to get everybody else to jump on board. Thanks, Gary. And Mark, how are you? Glad to see you. And thanks for being a member with us as well. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have the Chiefs announced who will be the broadcaster team for the preseason games yet on TV? I haven't seen anything, so makes me think that it's going to be the same of Ari and Trent, right?
I would
that's
imagine
my
so.
guess.
Yeah, that's my guess too. I got enough. Haven't seen anything else, so I would imagine it's the same.
So you guys let us know if anyone in the chat has heard, and let Mark know as well, please. Royce, nice to see you, buddy. Everybody ready for some football? It's been a long summer. Yes, it has. I felt like we just finished the draft, and I woke up the next day, and here we are. I'm tired. It's going to be okay.
A little bit.
Terry, do you think that Charles and Barry will be the first ballot Hall of Fame? Unfortunately, no. I don't think so. There's a lot of discussion amongst the Hall of Fame voters about whether Jamal deserves it. I think he clearly does. I think you're insane if you make an argument that he didn't have enough yardage. When you look at the kid from Denver, and then you look at his yards per carry, there's no way that Jamal shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Does he make it the first ballot? Probably not, because of those arguments. Eric Berry, I think, is a tougher call, because safeties, honestly, are marginalized pretty well. And while he did play well, he didn't put up those kind of like Ed Reed stats. And I think the argument against his game-changing ability is going to come into play. I think he probably should be there eventually, but I don't think either of them are going to be a first ballot. Kind of sucks. I would vote for Jamal on the first ballot if I were, and I know Terez would have too, because we've had conversations about it.
Yeah. I'll plant the flag. I say Jamal Charles gets in the first 5 years of eligibility.
Yes.
I
Agreed.
fully believe the analytics discussions that are now being taken place and maybe taking a little bit more seriously are going to show how impactful players are over the course of their career. Like Jamal Charles did to some of those charts that we see Patrick Mahomes do. It's everybody over here, and then it's Jamal Charles up on the top right. He was so good, and he did things that are just incomparable to what everyone else does with the offensive lines that he had. So I think he gets in the first 5 years eligibility. It's harder for safeties. It's so much harder for safeties unless you, like I said, compiling those number stats. And while he was a playmaker, he had his injuries, he had his bout with cancer, which is not his fault. Nothing you can do about that. It's just you're not in the field, and that's something that's going to get taken into consideration.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. Folks, forgive me. I've got a little bit of internet things going on here. There's a thunderstorm. The lightning's causing havoc with my satellite internet. So
there we go.
Just bear with me a little bit. I think we'll make it. Out of the vet edge players left unsigned to fill the gap, who's the best fit? Dunlap, Clowney, Ingram, Quinn, or JPP? It's Dunlap by a mile, in my opinion.
Mile. Okay. And it's just he is going to be able to give you pass rush. And you can also start him in the edge and play run defense. Like he's not someone that is Clowney, who's basically just a run stuffer at this point. Ingram is more of a third down rusher. He's not necessarily someone you want out there for run downs. And Quinn is getting older, who's probably not as great against the run anymore. Maybe he doesn't do as much against the pass either. And I mean, JPP is pretty much done. Yeah. I don't think he's played in a year plus. So I don't remember if he played last year. I don't think he did, but it could be wrong.
I think Carlos is enjoying his restaurant business, and he's just waiting in the wings, training. He's like, let me know. I'll be here.
He's waiting for the Chris Jones contract to get signed. I'm 100% convinced of that.
Yeah, it feels like that to me too. Dub Freak Freer, hope you're doing well. Appreciate the support, buddy, especially in pounds. I like that. Big love to all the Chiefs fam. I won't lie. I'm hoping for Richie James being out sneakiest, highest recover in terms of receiver in terms of yards. Man, I've seen stranger predictions. I'll tell you. I do think if he hits the ground running, he could be that guy out of the slot that really makes the offense move. And I know how you feel, Dan.
Love him. Richie James is a fantastic fit in this offense. So, I mean, if there's one player that can really benefit from an unfortunate injury to Kadarius Toney that puts him out for time, it's Richie James, because you can play Sky Moore on the outside, more to that Juju Smith-Schuster role, which I expect him to play anyway. And he's a natural fit right in the slot. I'm a big fan. So yeah, I'm with you.
Rock and roll. Thank you, Dub Freak. Appreciate you and the support, my friend. Lee, did you get any clarity about any cap savings from the Amenahue suspension? I did. I don't have it 100% confirmed, but Chris is going to look into that. But no, you don't get any cap relief from that. It is still on your cap, even though there'll be penalties, et cetera, unless you know something different, Dan.
I don't know anything different personally. From the only thing I think would change it would be if it's in the contract itself. Like if you signed a contract saying if you get suspended, we don't have to pay you this amount of games you're missing. But I would imagine that's not in his contract.
Yeah. This is not meant to be together. They just came in this way together. So we're going to look at both of them. John, I agree with you. Princes look good in training camp. And Rick wants to know, do you think it's strange that Kareem Hunt has not signed with anybody? I will let you take this away. I want to check something.
All right. Well, so yes, Deneric Prince has looked as good as the social media team has wanted him to look. That's exactly. They've also thrown a ton of balls his way, seeing if he can handle it. He only had 17 catches in his entire collegiate career. So you want to be able to test that out for a rookie. You want to see, okay, can you handle catching the football? So he's been able to do that by all accounts. And I think what we're seeing with Prince, much like what we saw with Isaiah Pacheco, his best attributes are kick returner and getting to the edge. Like that seems to be where he shines in space. Between the tackles is very murky still from what I have heard. And I will be out there on a week from this Tuesday, I'll be at Chiefs training camp. So I'll get to see all of this from my own personal eyes, and which is a big thing for me. I'm a film guy, so I have to be able to see what's going on. I can't just trust a clip that the Chiefs social media team has put out. It's not something I can do. I know it's great for hype, and I'm glad that he's doing well for that. But I can't do it. And to answer your question, Rick, I don't think it's strange as a lot of people do. Look at the free agent market for the running backs. Look at the contract disputes teams are having. Look at the holdout with Josh Jacobs. You had Saquon Barkley essentially sign $1 million extension for the same year. Like it's tough right now to be a running back in the NFL. Unless you're a rookie, an undrafted free agent rookie, you can come in and make money. Although the best of the top are getting paid, wanting to get paid, and they're not getting paid. So teams who have Leonard Fournette and Ezekiel Elliott and Kareem Hunt and Dalvin Cooks on the free agent market, they're like, y'all are old. We don't want to pay you what you want to get paid. We will just take an undrafted free agent and put them in our offense, or we'll just draft somebody in the 7th round. So no, it's not really all that strange to me because teams don't want to pay running backs. And unfortunately, they don't want to take less to play on a team that is going to run them into the ground and discard them next year. So I don't blame them. I'll be very honest.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to do this quick math just to circle back to the salary cap question, because I just did a couple of checks and there's some conflicting information. I know Chris Clark will have the answer for me this week when he gets back from vacation, folks. So check out Locked On Chiefs, and I'll bring it back here as well. But the base salary for Menahue is $1,080,000. So 6/17 of that is not going to come out to much. It's going to give you enough to get anything else done. It's not a threshold to get another signing in. So unfortunately, it isn't going to help either way. Cole, thank you. I feel like when Alex Smith came here, which is obviously when Big Red did, the Chiefs became a passing team and largely abandoned the run. Agree or disagree? Absolutely. I mean, that is the turning point because Andy's Andy, and the volume and the dedication to the running game is dependent on the coach. I don't think it was quarterback specific. And honestly, I don't think Mahomes has made it any more so either. We've only really seen about a 4% drop off in the amount of run calls since then. So it is what it is.
I disagree a little bit because when he first got there, it was Jamal Charles. So you're not going to just be like, all right, we're not going this way. But you also had, after that, you had some years where it was Spencer Ware, to Kendrick West, and a mumble mix of running backs. And then you had Kareem Hunt for a year and a half plus, who was, again, running for 1,000+ yards, was on pace to do that very easily in his second year in Kansas City. So I think that there was a little just up and downs. Running backs can earn more touches based on how good they are and how good they play. So I think that largely, yes, in the grand scheme, you are right. Andy Reid said, hey, guess what? We're going to throw the ball a little bit more than the Chiefs in the past. That's just kind of how it works. But the running backs dictated, in my opinion, how often they actually did run the ball.
That's fair. Yeah, if you can't give them a good reason, it's going to drift the other way. That makes sense. Thanks, Cole. Good question. Folks, I know we got a few super chats to get through. I appreciate you, but I just want to say, give Gooch a shout out. 32 months as our lead member, our elite member, the man himself.
Appreciate
nice
you,
to
Gooch.
see you. And Gooch, I appreciate your comment as well. I agree with you. It does look like there's some tough decisions out there, and the jumbling of this roster is going to be a challenge this year, more so than I think any since the first Super Bowl, to tell you the truth.
Can we just take a second to say the ears on this guy? He hears his name one time when we're doing a live stream, and bam, he's there.
And what does he say? He says, "Hi, Dad."
Oh, hi. How you doing, man?
Well, I appreciate you, Goose.
Fantastic.
Good to see you, buddy.
Fantastic.
Scott, thank you for the support. Appreciate you as well. Does the Menahue suspension put pressure on the Chiefs to have to free up cap space to possibly sign a short-term veteran to replace Menahue? It does. I don't know if it's as much just to replace him because, like I said, I do think that that will be reduced on appeal. Is my guess down to 4-ish, and I do think that other than the calf strain, I think they have the utmost confidence in Mike Dana and feel that they can sprinkle in probably Felix a little bit and that they can move Malik Herring in and around a bit to make up for that. But I do think that with the Jones contract comes the ability to go get another veteran for the defensive line. I just think it's going to be Carlos Dunlap.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's an unfortunate situation which they saw coming. Like this was something that they had to have in the bag already. So I just think they're just waiting. But they can only go the speed at which Chris Jones signs the contract. So we're all waiting around here.
Yeah, twiddling my thumbs.
Yeah.
Scott, thank you for the support. Thank you, Scotty. To be a good running back, you need a block. Has Prince picked up the blocking assignments? From what I understand, that's still the work in progress. So if he's in the ball game right now and it's a passing down, he's going out on a route. I'm just going to tell you, you don't need to worry about inside the tackles.
Yeah, you've got some running backs on the roster that have some pass protection problems that they need to sort out. But yeah, it's definitely not been something that you pick up easily, especially when you have 17 catches on your career, which often means you aren't asked to be out there in passing situations very often.
Ding, ding, ding. Thank you, Scott. We appreciate you. Napoleon, is the rule change regarding forward handoffs going to eliminate RPOs? Not in any way that I understand. I haven't seen the specific language of it, but RPOs are a significant portion of the game now. We'd all be up in arms if that were going to be the case, but I will try to review the actual language of it and see if I can drill down a little bit for you.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the rule. I'll be very honest with you. That says that it'll take out RPOs. From what I understand, they're not trying to take away offensive schematic things. They're just trying to change a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think generally just to make it a little bit more competitive. Daniel, hi guys. Should the Chiefs trade for Odafe Owe or Chase Young with the defensive line starting to thin out? Thanks for the question, buddy. Appreciate you. I'm certain that they've called, and I would entertain any calls. I don't think it's going to end up getting done because of the draft capital. And again, they can't absorb anybody's contract, even a first contract like those guys right now with their cap space, $562K as it stands today. They couldn't even do that right now without getting Chris Dunn.
Would love it. But I think that always a second-year player now, or is he a third?
I want to say third, but
this is his third year. Yeah. So one, I don't think the Ravens want to just kind of throw away someone like that. And plus, if he's not, working out there as an athletic guy in a Baltimore Ravens defense that's got a lot of good pieces and a lot of good defensive coaches, I'm not necessarily sure I want to trade for that myself. And Chase Young would be great. Would be fantastic to try and trade for. But injury concerns, money concerns.
I was just going to say, do you think that he's back on the path to where he was? I mean, he was elite as a rookie, but
he was elite. He was an elite player. But injuries, man. We're going to find out. We are going to find. This is a contract year for him, and as the late great Therese Taylor always says, the contract year is undefeated. So we're going to find out what he's made of this year.
I guess we're gonna. I don't know. I would be cautious.
Yeah,
Jack,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, Jack. Should they keep 4 linebackers on the initial 53? That's thin for me, especially if you could see having to get pass rush out of Leo as well. Yeah. I think they have to keep 5, and I think honestly, the linebacker group is usually one that plays special teams pretty heavily. So I got to think that they're going to stick 5 there. But it's certainly, when you look at the calculations, if you're pinching all the pennies trying to get everybody on here, you're more likely to squeeze a linebacker onto the practice squad you can then bring back, because they have to do it with someone. Kadarius Toney will be on the 53-man roster because he has to be, or they lose him for the year. And then they can bring someone back. So for me, the biggest question is, who can we get to the practice squad for a day without getting him claimed so we can bring him right back?
Devin Bush.
Yeah. I agree.
That's the name that I've come back to. I see that. Blake Bell, those 2 guys you can probably get down to the practice squad. And they're also vested veterans, which
means they're not wavered.
They wouldn't qualify for the waiver period. So It would be interesting, but I think either of those guys would be someone you could cut and then re-sign the day after.
Agreed. Miss Holly, thank you. Sorry, Ryan, I disagree regarding Butker doing double Dewey owing to the increased injury risk. Forgive me. Nothing to forgive, my dear. We all have opinions, and you are as dedicated to yours as I am to mine. And you have a fair point. Maybe if it was a year ago, would you feel the same way if he hadn't had last year's injury? Maybe I'm being overly optimistic with it, but I don't know.
Someone's got to be able to punt on this roster. Come on.
Yeah, right? I mean,
someone's got to.
I'm pretty sure Kelsey can. I'm just saying. Don't ask him to throw any passes, please, but, I could see that. Canadian Chief, will Jones sign soon? Agree and hit the like button. Appreciate that. If you think Chris Jones is going to sign before training camp ends, hit the like. If you think that he's not going to, I need you to hit the sub and tell me why. That's the best
there
way
you
to
go.
do it.
Perfect.
There we go.
Perfect.
Canadian Chief, well done, buddy. Ryan and Dan, what's the deal with the bad blood between Houston and the Chiefs? As I understand it, Justin got fed up in his days with his role and basically turned it in early. It's the best way I can put it. And I do believe that his departure from Kansas City was due to what was perceived as a lack of output, a lack of effort, and just general disenfranchisement with his role. Do you know anything different, Dan? Yeah.
No.
Okay. Brandon, to Dan, best D-line players outside of Greek Freak and Jones. Who do you have and what's your list?
Oh, well, I think Omenihu comes in on that list right after. Right now with this roster, I think that he would be the best guy in terms of production, upside. And then it would be Mike Dana. Personally, I think Mike Dana last year was a much improved player. And you have a lot of veteran ability there. And then you have quite a bit of unknown. I mean, Derek Nottie would be right after that because we know what Derek Nottie is. He's a very good defensive run stopper. Not getting much out of it. But then you have unknown with FAU and Kendrick Tolbert. But you could even throw Tristan Wharton in there to the unknown. I don't know what he's going to be coming off the injuries. Like he's had multiple injuries. The guy that was explosive and fast and quick with his movements in his rookie season, is he the same guy? I have no idea. Because if he's not, he's not a defensive tackle. He's not. He can't do what he used to be able to do. So in terms of what we know, that's what I got for you.
Fair enough. I'm just encouraged to see how they move it around. This must rush is what it's going to have to be maybe to start the season. And does that click in? What can Joe Cullen do? What are the new wrinkles? I'm ready to see it. So we'll get an inkling.
I have not heard very comforting things about the pass rush. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I am concerned. Let's be real. But a week from tonight, we should have some answers. So we will still have the Sunday Night Live post game, depending on when that thing closes down. I can't remember what the kickoff time is. So don't worry, we will still be here, and we'll be on our regular schedule here for the preseason Monday night Q&A tomorrow night, as well as next week. So don't mind that. We're going to wrap up with Diana's question, and thank you very much for being here. Has there ever been a better time to be a Chiefs fan? I want Andy and Pat to get a perfect season. This could be the year. I love that, and Diana, I'm with you. Dan, do we think this team or any other team in the modern era, do you think they can go undefeated?
I don't believe that they can go undefeated. And that's not an indictment against how good a team is.
Right.
It's a different game. It's so, I think the margins have gotten so thin for offenses and the way the defenses have to continue to play. Any game could end in the way that we saw the divisional game in 2021 happen with the Bills and the Chiefs. It could come down to a coin flip. Like the margins are so thin. I don't believe that we're going to see another undefeated team going into the Super Bowl. And even then they ended up losing. So it's just anything can happen. And I think I'll stick with, I'll decide as the coin that says it's not going to
happen. Hey, perfection's hard to find in this life. I'll just tell you that. Oh man, Gary, thank you. 338 in the chat. If you guys would hit the thumbs up as you go on about your evening, we very much appreciate you. Thanks for being with us. Be back here tomorrow night, same time. We'll go through every one of your questions. Dan, I hope that it cools down for you down there in Texas.
Feeling a little better. I'm not sweating anymore, so we're doing all right.
All right, y'all have a great Monday. We'll talk to you tomorrow.